Hello and welcome to this video, which is for data structures. And the purpose of this video is to help get you oriented working with Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, it might be available already pinned as I've got it here. Otherwise, you're just going to have to go ahead and search for it and launch this great application from Microsoft. I cannot believe that I just said great and Microsoft in the same sentence, but there you have it. I'm probably going to have to go and edit this out. The first thing you're going to have to do is install the extension so you can work with Java. So you're going to click here. On the left-hand side, we have a couple of different options: Explorer, Search, Source Control, Run and Debug, and Extensions. We want the last one. You'll look for Java, and you'll find a bunch of things. The one that you want is the extension pack for Java. It's got 11.1 million downloads. Someone must like it. Click on Install. And this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm just going to sort of pause it here. No, I'm not going to pause it here because it's already finished. Let's hear it for speed. Okay, so Java has been installed. Now that we have the extension installed, we're going to have to go ahead and tell Visual Studio Code where home is. So you're going to go under File, you're going to go under Preferences and Settings, and search for, I think JDK will do it. So you search for JDK, and it talks about configurations and runtimes. And it also says something about Java, JDT, LS, Java, Home. And this is actually the one that we want. So click here where it says Edit in Settings JSON. And this will pop up. Now, I've been doing some pre-configuring, so this is already set up for me. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to add a line that looks like this. Okay, so it's going to be java.jdt.ls.sjava.home, and then it's C:\\program files / Amazon Corretto. And if you get the syntax wrong, it'll let you know about that. So that's the next thing we have to do. And at this point, we'll have Java already set up so we can start working with it. Now, one of the important things to know about Visual Studio Code is that almost everything involves the command palette. If you're on Windows, it's Control-Shift-P. If you're on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-P. And so you do a whole lot by bringing up the command palette. And in this case, you can just start typing. And I've already done this, so it's already sort of set up. But if you just type Java create, you see we've got Java create project. You'll click on that. And the project type, we want no build tools, so we'll just click on that. And then it asks where we want to go ahead and save that. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and put this on the desktop. And so I will select the project location, and I have to give a name to it. And since this is going to be for Lab 1, I'm going to go ahead and call it Lab 1 and press Enter. And at this point, it's created the project. You can see we've got a folder called Source, and we've got something called app.java in it. Now, it's put this just at the root level of source, so it's not in a package, and you can tell from right here that it's not in a package. So we're going to do a couple of things. The first is we're going to put this in a package. So we will say package, I don't know, Lab 1, that sounds good. Now, the thing is, we're saying it's in a package, but the system doesn't know that it is. It's supposed to be in a folder, and it actually offers right here to let you do this. So it says the declared package Lab 1 does not match the expected package, which is the default package. And it offers a quick fix. And the quick fix is to move app.java to package Lab 1. Sounds good to me. So go ahead and do that. And you notice now it says source / Lab 1. There's actually a folder here called source with a subfolder called Lab 1. And you notice I can either select the Lab 1 folder or the source folder. I wish it would show it sort of spelled out more, but it does it using this sort of abbreviated notation. In any event, the app is now in the package called Lab 1, and there really is a folder called source. It really contains a folder called Lab 1, and what you see here is in that Lab 1 subfolder of source. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and prove this? So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to choose Reveal in File Explorer. Yeah, so there's app 1. So notice if I go to lab 1, there's source. And if I open up source, there's lab 1. And if I open up lab 1, there's app.java. Now, app.java is actually a pretty poor name. So let's go ahead and rename it. F2, memorize that. If you press the F2 key, then it pops up and says enter to rename. So instead of app, let's call it lab 1. All right. Now we should go ahead and run it. And to run it, we just have to click on the arrow here. So we have a choice of run or run and debug. I'm just going to choose run. And hello world. So success. The last thing that we want to do is bring in a couple of packages that we'll be using throughout the course. And so I will be giving you instructions on how to find sourcecode.zip. You're going to actually, here are the instructions right now. Go to the Canvas site, go to helpful resources, and look for the link called sourcecode.zip. You'll download it, you'll unzip it, and you just have to take the source code. If we open up source code, we'll see that it contains DSAJ and net. So it actually has two packages, the DSAJ package and the net package. I want you to select both of those, and this is going to require some very precise dragging. And I want you to drag it over where it says source. And you can just tell that it's getting highlighted maybe. So what you should see at this point is, well, it dragged in DSAJ. It didn't drag in the other, the net. So let's go back to here. And let's do the same thing with net. So I guess it could only do, maybe it can only do one at a time. So I'm going to again drag it over source. And now we have DSAJ and net. So these are filled with interesting files that we'll be exploring throughout this course. I actually dragged in the class files and the Java files. We want the .java files because we're going to want to be able to study the source. But for instance, suppose I wanted to reference, there's a class here called singly linked list somewhere. So if I look at singly linked list, you can see it's in the net.datastructures package. So if we go back to lab 1, here's our lab1.java file. Of course, you already know this. You have to import net.datastructures.star. And it's giving me a squiggly because it's never used. So we'll just go ahead and declare a singly linked list of integer and there we now have a singly linked list. And thanks to IntelliSense, we can discover all sorts of things. Add first 25. There we have it. Not really the most exciting program, but let's just go ahead and verify that it runs. It didn't crash, so it must be correct, and it must be ready for shipping. All right. At this point, you know a fair amount of what you need to know to work with Visual Studio Code. There are lots of other features. I mean, this is a really very powerful IDE, and yet they've taken all of that complexity and done a great job of hiding it in about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different icons. All right, there's one last thing that I'm going to mention. I never know when to stop. That's my problem. But we're going to talk about the debugger because no one ever talks enough about the debugger. To debug, all you have to do is click to the left of the number where you want to stop, and then instead of choosing run, you just choose debug. And it'll go ahead and it'll do magical stuff, and it will stop at this point. Then if you look on the left-hand side, you can see all of your local variables. We don't have any. So we just have args, the parameters from main. If I look up here, we can see that we've got step over, step into, step out of, and continue. I'm going to use step over, so now it's going to execute line 8. And because it's executed line 8, our singly linked list has now been created. So we have the SLL variable. And you can open this up to inspect it. It's a singly linked list, so it's got a head, tail, and size. And there are all sorts of other interesting things that we can do as well. But I've probably exceeded the length of time that I should devote to any one video, lest people lose concentration. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Please ask in class if you have any questions.